I know some of you will be watching this after the fact, and so welcome to you as well. Please, if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to put them in the chat. I think is probably the best way to do it. And then from there, what we're going to do today is in the next 25 minutes or so, we're going to give you an overview of the Atlantic Commercial Diving Center. We're going to give you an overview of the industry because there's some really neat things happening right now within the commercial diving space. We're going to give you a bit of an insight with some of the school. We'll share with you some of the student testimonials that we have of those ahead of you that have gone through. And then we'll wrap up with any questions that you may have. So it is going to be jam-packed for the next 20 minutes or so. So in terms of Atlantic Commercial Diving Center, we're located in Summerside, Prince Edward Island. We're actually the only certified commercial diving school in Eastern Canada. Our staff have a combined 200 plus years of industry experience and facilities that boast the latest in equipment and technology. We are really proud of our high success rate from our carefully crafted programming, and that combines both in-class lectures with a lot of hands-on experience. And so if you're not as familiar with Eastern Canada, we have a map here. You can see that we're in the midst to a little bit of the western part of Prince Edward Island. And now this next picture, I hope doesn't scare you. This is what it looks like in the winter. And one of the really great benefits of looking at a career in commercial diving and training at our school is that we give you some of the most rigorous training that you can in terms of exposure to different elements, which really sets you up for success anywhere in the world that you would want to have a commercial diving career. And just before we get into the programming, a couple of other shots I wanted to share with you are some of the places that you would be training in terms of commercial diving. So you can see here right in Summerside, we have 3 really neat dive sites that Kimball and his team will be training you at. We also have one in Charlottetown. It skipped through there a bit too quickly. So in Charlottetown, we have a really great dive site. And then finally in Nova Scotia is where we do our deep diving as part of our signature programming. Port Hawkesbury in Nova Scotia has some of the deepest waters in and around Atlantic Canada. And so before we go too much further, I do want to introduce you to Kimball Johnson. Kimball is the director and founder of the Atlantic Commercial Diving Center, and is a commercial diving instructor. So Kimball graduated from commercial diving way back in, not to date you too much, Kimball, but back in 1987, and as well as a trained welder and underwater welder. So he has expertise in welding, marine construction, demolition, salvage, ship repair, and maintenance. So we have a list of certifications, including USS Diver, USS Supervisor, a KMDSI technician, Red Seal welder. He's a diver medic, and a CAE grad. And all this is to say you are in very, very good hands with Kimball and his team. There is no one more experienced in Eastern Canada than Kimball and the team that he's assembled for this school. Do you want to just say a quick hi, Kimball?
Hello, everyone.
Great. We're gonna be asking Kimball some hard questions shortly. So in terms of why you should be considering a career in commercial diving, now we're assuming the majority of you that are on the call today are likely in grade 12, perhaps you're in grade 11, perhaps you're already in university and thinking, I'm not really sure if university is for me. One of the really interesting things that we see in commercial diving right now is this built up demand for highly trained commercial divers. And what we see with our graduates is a lot of them, if not all of them, have a job coming out of a 22-week program, which is really, really rare. And so if you're looking for something, a career that's going to be adventurous, that is very physical, but is going to give you a lot of variety, hands-on work, then this might be something that's for you. The other thing that we're seeing is that particularly in Atlantic Canada, and this is extending across Canada, is that there really is a lot of growth in both the oceans and the aquaculture industry. So if you become a commercial diver, there's many, many different industries that your skill set would be sought after. And finally, the other benefit to Atlantic Commercial Diving Center is that we have a really good network within our industries. So we have great relationships with employers. They're reaching out to us sometimes on a daily basis saying, tell me about your graduates. How close are they to finishing? Who do you think wants to come work in this area? So lots and lots of opportunities with commercial diving. Now, in terms of the industry, so just some stats to share with you, because I think this is really impressive in terms of the longevity of your career. So I know you're making some big decisions right now with what you want to do with your life, and those are not easy decisions. Both Kimball and I actually have kids that are in grade 12. So my daughter is trying to figure this out right now. Kimball's son is trying to figure this out now. So we empathize with you. When you look at the diving industry, it's expected to grow by 15 to 20% over the next 10 years. That means there's going to be more and more demand for certified commercial divers. And right now in Canada, there's only about 800 certified commercial divers in Canada. That's not meeting the current demand. And so employers, as I mentioned, are reaching out, trying to hire graduates before they even finish the program. In terms of the ocean economy, so we talk about the ocean economy a lot in Atlantic Canada, but we do have 3 oceans in Canada. So more than half of Canada's $30 billion ocean economy is anchored here in Atlantic Canada, which is where our school is. But you can get jobs anywhere around the world in commercial diving. So in terms of what this actually means, so Tasha, if you're thinking, Tasha, well, yeah, I get all this, but what job opportunities are there for me? So here's just even a partial list, but we wanted to give you a good idea of where you might be able to work with a commercial diving certification. So you could be a harbor infrastructure inspector, or you might be working in maintenance or in underwater welding and repair. You might also be working at deep water drilling platforms, either in inspection, maintenance, or repair. You could also be working in oil and gas pipeline infrastructure and inspection and repair, or shipbuilding, which obviously is very popular right now in Atlantic Canada. But beyond that, you also might be working in police departments and investigation, search and recovery, or with fire departments and their recovery operations. We also have Canadian underwater archaeology, which is really just fascinating. There's the Canadian Armed Forces, there's scientific diving, there's seafood harvesting and quality control. So you can see there really is a good variety of where you might be able to take a career in commercial diving. And so in terms of the courses offered here at Atlantic Commercial Diving Center, the first one and the biggest course that we have is the Unrestricted Surface Supplied Diver Certification, or the USSD for short. So this is our signature 22-week intensive course that's held at our state-of-the-art facility in Summerside, Prince Edward Island, and it typically runs year to year from January to June. So while we do have a few spots open for this coming January, what we're seeing is that there are a lot of students already looking ahead to get some of the pre-certifications that they need, and we'll talk to you about those for the 2023 intake. So if you're someone that already has diving experience and perhaps you're already finished grade 12 and want to know if you can join us in January, yes, there is that opportunity for sure. But if you're someone in grade 12 thinking through what do I want to do next year, the great news is you have some time after you finish grade 12 to get the prerequisites that you need and then join us for January of 2023. So some of these other courses, I won't go through them in great detail, but as you move through the USSD program, you will have to do continuing education. And we want you to know that through our center, you can continue on with your education as you add on other courses. For example, the diving supervisors course is a great way to add on to your existing certifications with the USSD and make even more money. And now we haven't talked a lot about money, and I don't want to make any promises, but what I can tell you from experience, those graduating with the USSD certification are not starting in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. This is a highly paid skill that's in demand, which means that we are seeing above average starting salaries, which, you know, if you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, that's a really great place to be starting your career with very little debt on that side. So in terms of the USSD program, I'm wondering, Kimball, if you want to jump in here and tell them a little bit more about what they'll be learning.
Well, like you say, this is our signature program. And we teach everything from the diving equipment to the systems they'll be using to the procedures. We do surface decompression using oxygen, and that's kind of the ultimate and where they bring it all together. We dive our students to 165 feet, which is 50 meters, which is required by the CSA standard that we teach. The certification comes from the Diver Certification Board of Canada. We're an accredited school through them, and we have to teach to that CSA standard, Z275.5.
Great. And sorry, keep going. Go ahead.
There's all kinds of skills, like commercial diving isn't just underwater welding, or it isn't just like you said, there's so many different areas of commercial diving, and so many skills that they need. And we try to prepare our students the best we can to be ready to jump into any one of those. But a lot of companies specialize, and so they learn a lot more after they get into the field in the specialty that the company that they're working for is catering to.
Great. And tell me, Kimball, this might also be a great time for us to share with our attendees what a day in the life of a student might look like at the school.
Well, first thing every morning, we're doing fitness, and the guys are either in the gym or they're running. Then we assemble and we do job safety analysis for the day, and we outline our dive day, and then the guys assemble the dive equipment, and we normally pack up and go to different dive sites. And then at the end of the day, everybody dives every day, and then when we come back to the shop, we unpack and we start preparing for the next day, and it's repeated. Now those are dive days, and we start off in the classroom. There's a lot of theory that they need to know. Math is an important subject in this industry. A lot of it is based on mathematics, and so.
Great. And now tell me, Kimball, I know the answer, but I'm wondering if you can share with our viewers as well. If someone's watching this and they're thinking, well, I have an interest in diving. Maybe I've tried scuba diving before, but I'm not sure if I have what it takes to become a commercial diver. Who do you see as most successful in this industry and in the course?
Well, number one, they're going to have a love for the water. And then if they have the passion and they've already gone through and taken a sport diver course, and they've got some dives under their belt, and they've experienced the underwater environment, and they're still passionate about it, then this can be a career for them. And like you were pointing out, is that the divers are in demand, and we can't supply enough. We're getting calls continuously looking for divers.
And now if you're also a student, so we have folks from students across Canada right now looking at this, and they might have perhaps they're in Ontario and they're looking at some dive schools there, and they're wondering, well, why should I come to Summerside PEI to learn to be a commercial diver? What do you think the benefits are of doing diving in Atlantic Canada as your training ground?
Well, we have you've already pointed out the staff that we have, and the Maritimes is heavy in commercial divers, and we do have a lot of experience right here, but we also have the facilities. We have underwater welding tanks right in our shop, and we have Red Seal welders that teach topside, and then we transfer it into the tanks, and we have viewports. We watch our divers, and we give them instant feedback, so they're learning as they go, and we can correct things immediately so that they can understand and learn better. The other thing is, you pointed out the dive sites that we have around here. We have many different structures that we dive on, but we dive in the ocean, and we deal with the currents and the tides and the cold weather. It's not a sheltered. This is very realistic where we teach, and they're very well prepared. The employers that we provide students, divers to, they're very impressed with the guys that we put out, and that's a big feather in our hat, and we're quite proud of that.
That's great. And we're using the word guys loosely because what we mean is certainly it is inclusive
Equal.
programming, and yes, men and women and are both welcome. So we do have females in the industry as well, which is great to see. Certainly it is male dominated, but we do see more and more women opting to take this program. Now, Kimball, before I move on to the program requirements, I do have one last question, and you raised it slightly with when you mentioned the safety element. And so certainly there is an element of risk to this career, though we know that there are lots of safety parameters put into place. Can you just talk to those a little bit about what a student might expect in terms of safety?
This is a very regulated industry, and within Canada, every province has a set of regulations and guides that we have to abide by. In Prince Edward Island, for example, we follow the sea standard, and a lot of the provinces do, but some provinces have their own regulations. And there is no aspect of it that is not regulated, right from the breathing air to the equipment we use to the procedures. It is very regulated. It is a safe industry. It's not like it used to be. It has evolved, and we teach a lot of safety, and that's primary concern on any job site or any diving site is safety. So that is a heavy element, and understanding all the aspects of the diving.
That's great. And certainly the class size helps. So the maximum students that we would take in a January intake typically would not be any more than 24 students. So you have one-on-one contact with all your instructors. You work really well together with a team of 23 other students that are there with you. You become a tightly bonded unit. And that happens on the job site too. And you need that from a safety perspective. And so let's move on to some of the program requirements for USSD. So the first thing that you need is that grade 12 or equivalent with credits at or above the general level. So preference will be given to those applicants that do have a physics credit. If you don't have a physics credit, please reach out to us and let's chat through some elements. There will be physics involved, so we want to make sure that you have some sort of comfort level with that. The second thing is an open water scuba diving certificate with at least 20 log dives and 10 hours of bottom time. So if you're someone that is at this presentation because it sounded very intriguing to you and this does not make sense to you at all, that's okay. That means that we just have a bit more work to do to help you get your prerequisites before you would be able to enter your program. And we're happy to have these conversations one-on-one with you in the coming weeks to help you understand what this requirement means. The third thing is a full commercial diving medical from an approved hyperbaric doctor. And again, we can help you find who that doctor might be in your area, because that is definitely a requirement for the course. We also ask for a resume that includes your work and volunteer experience with applicable dates, the membership to groups that you might have. So it might just be some community work that you've done, perhaps some associations or some athletics that you've done, anything that can help us understand who you are and what you're looking for in your career. Once we have all this information, then we would schedule a face-to-face interview. Typically, it is with Kimball, the director of the school, and that would be scheduled at your convenience so that we can go over and make sure that everything that we know makes a successful student in our program, you possess. And it's a two-way street. So we absolutely also want to have all your questions answered. So this face-to-face interview was a really great time to do that. And I will say we are trying to prepare our students as best we can when they graduate from our program. So even having the opportunity to do an interview, perhaps it's going to be your first interview experience, and that's okay. It's better to get this experience as a student with us so we can help prepare you for the workforce when you're going to be doing this a very short 22 weeks after you start with us as you start talking with employers. So that's something that's important to us as well, is making sure we're making you as employable as possible with these skill sets. And then finally, as Kimball mentioned, the program does include a daily fitness program. And so ideally, you are coming in with a certain level of physical fitness. So that can be done over time. If you're not completely physically fit right now, then you have some work to do to get there. And again, we're here to help you with some suggestions on how you might be able to do that. Now, is there anything, Kimball, that you want to add before I move on to the costs and the tuition?
There was just a question about math, and math is important. But if you have a good basic understanding of the principles of math, then the physics really, and the understanding of the principles of the physics, how they apply to the water, the air, and how we use air underwater to our advantage, along with breathing, also lifting and doing.
So it's less about calculus and more so about basic math skills. Is that correct?
It is, and then being able to comprehend the different laws that apply to diving.
Great. Okay, great. And are there any other, I can't see the chat, so are there any other questions before we move on?
No,
that we need.
Yep, no, we're good for now.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about money. What does it look like? So the tuition for the 22-week program that runs from January to June inclusively is $19,975. And then from there is a couple of other fees that are on top of that. So that would be your Kirby Morgan Operator Certificate, your first aid, your oxygen therapy, your helmet kit, and which comes to a total of $20,450. What's not included in that is books, which runs you about $400 plus room and board. So as I mentioned, that's a 22-week period. Now we are a certified college, which means you do and are eligible for student loans. And if you have RESPs, they can also be applied to our program. And so in terms of a couple of testimonials I wanted to share with you, one is from an industry person, so an employer, and he says, we're always looking for well-trained commercial divers. We have worked with Kimball Johnson for the last 8 years and know when we hire someone he and his team have trained, we are getting a well-rounded, highly professional commercial diver. And the second one I wanted to share with you, and we have tons of these, but I just chose one, is from our previous students. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do after high school, but I knew I wanted it to be a career that would allow me to be predominantly outdoors and in construction. Taking my commercial diving certification with Kimball and his team was the best career decision I could have made. I was employed within 10 days of graduating and make more money than most of my friends graduating from university. And that's from Luke Castle in Brockville, Ontario. You know, one of the benefits of attending our school is that we are a small school. It is very hands-on. We take very good care of our students. You will be representing us when you graduate in the industry. And so we want to make sure that not only are you highly trained as a commercial diver, but you're highly trained and employable on all other aspects. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and see if there's any questions we might be able to answer for you.
And just to add what you just said, Tasha, we're looking to go above and beyond with our students, and we want them to be professionals, and we want our students to be in demand and get hired. If there's a list of resumes, we want ours to be the one that gets hired first. And so we put a lot of work into our students, and we pride ourselves in what we accomplish with the students over the run of the year.
That's great. And Kimball, what's over your shoulder there? I know we don't have a lot of time to do a tour of the school, but I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about the equipment over your shoulder.
I'm just sitting in front of, this is one of our pieces of equipment. It's a hyperbaric chamber, and this is dive control that we use in deep dives. This is one of the pieces of equipment that will be on our barge when we're down in Port Hawkesbury.
Great. And so in terms of, so please put any of your questions in here if there's something that we haven't answered. I just want to reiterate what the process would be from here if you are interested in a career or if you do have questions. So first and foremost, if you have questions, we can set up a time one-on-one with Kimball so that you can have them answered directly. Or perhaps you have parents that have some questions. We're very happy to set that up in the coming weeks. If you are someone that would be looking for a 2023 entrance and you do have some prerequisites to get, then I would definitely reach out sooner than later so we can walk through and help you navigate where to get those prerequisites. If you are in the situation where you are looking to join us in 2022, as I mentioned, I think there's only 3 spots left at the moment, then that is a bit more urgent because we are October 22nd. So I would be reaching out right away to us. And if you go at the fair here, you can get a link through to our email address, so either Kimball or myself, and we can make sure that we get all your questions answered.
If
Kimball,
they get on our website, info@acdcpei.com is the email address that will come right to the school. My phone number, my personal cell phone number, is on the website. We're always available to answer questions, and I tell any student that contacts me that I will help them through the process from start to finish to get ready for the program and to help them through the application process and to get their prerequisites all done. Step number 1 is reach out, and then we'll help you get started, and we'll help you find a sport diving. If you're not a sport diver, we'll help you find a sport diving organization in your area, and we'll get the ball started.
That's great. And I should mention both on within our booth here at the virtual education fair and also on our website, so atlanticcommercialdivingcenter.com, there is a downloadable PDF that talks a lot about what we've covered today. So feel free to have a look at that. And again, if you have any questions, you reach out to us. So we'll stick around here for a couple more minutes to see if there's any other questions that come through. And for those of you that are watching this after the fact, we appreciate you joining as well, and we're looking forward to having those conversations with you should you have more questions. So we'll just give it a few more minutes here as we see some viewers coming and going on and off.
I'm just going to turn the camera around here, Tasha, so that they have a quick view of our shop and facilities. I'm just lifting up the computer without trying to drop anything. So this is our welding shop, and as you've seen in the background, that was our hyperbaric chamber. But over here on the other side, we have a full gym where the guys train in the morning.
Great. Yeah, it's a pretty big space. It's a really, and we didn't talk a lot about Summerside. I mean, you're from Summerside and you grew up there, so perhaps you're a bit biased. I am as well. It's a really lovely town. It's small, it's manageable. PEI is beautiful, not just in the summer, but all year round. So a lot of benefits to going to coming to PEI to train.
Yeah.
So what, Kimball, we're looking at?
This is one of our equipment rooms, and the helmets that the guys use to train in. These are hot water suits. Just going around the shop, and again, just a big 7,000 square feet.
Wow, it's great.
And over here, some of our equipment. These are our welding tanks with the ventilation system up and over.
And so if you've never welded, Kimball, before, is that something, is that a prerequisite, or can you learn on site with you?
We teach topside welding prior to them doing the underwater welding. So no, they don't need to know how to weld. We take them from 0 to being able to function as a welder. Obviously, it would be beginner level, but be able to function on a work site and be able to weld on a work site. And then we teach them the underwater welding portion of it, and to the point where they become proficient and competent in that area.
That's great. Great. Well, we are at the 30-minute mark, and we promised that we would try to get you in and out in 30 minutes. I'm not seeing any other questions come through, so I think we'll wrap it up here, Kimball, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Great. So we look forward. We'll be around all day tomorrow as well, or from the time that the fairs. I think it's 12 to 5 Eastern time. And so if you do have questions and want to pop by our booth and say hi, please do so. Otherwise, you can email us. Kimball, as he mentioned, his private cell phone number is on the website, so you can find us when you need us. And we really
Absolutely.
hope you consider a career in commercial diving. It is very, very rewarding. So with that, thank you very much for attending, and we hope to talk with you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Tash.
Thank you.